Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Rooted in Community podcast. My name is Dr. Ariel, and I'm one of the co-owners of Rooted Physio and Performance. We're a mobile physical therapy, personal training, and yoga company located in Columbia, Maryland. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the difference between performance physical therapy and traditional physical therapy, and basically why we have this model of being a performance-based physical therapy company and the perks of that. So we titled this episode that 80% is not good enough, and I want to dive into what that actually means and what that stands for. So traditionally in physical therapy, and maybe you've had physical therapy before after an injury or after a surgery, and especially if you've used your insurance, well, insurance companies nowadays really like to dictate care. They like to only give a certain amount of visits per body area or per body part or per condition. And so when I was working back in corporate healthcare, I would get, if I was lucky, 12 visits with most of my clients. Some commercial plans a little bit better than that. But oftentimes we just basically didn't get enough visits, and people would end up not really getting all the way back to where they needed to go. So in our company in Rooted, we actually don't network with a lot of insurance companies. We do take Medicare, but for everything else, we're cash pay. And the main reason for this is because we didn't want these limitations put on us by the insurance companies. And we also didn't want to play this game of getting our clients back to 80% of where they were instead of 120% of where they were. So I want to dive into that topic next and talk about what that 80% looks like versus what 120% looks like. So of course, very simply, like most people after an injury want to get back to 100% of where they were before that injury. For example, you play soccer recreationally, or maybe you're a soccer mom or you're a soccer coach. And when you're, running on the field, you sprain your ankle and you want to be able to get back to that task. You want to be able to coach your kids. You want to be able to carry that bag of soccer balls and equipment from the car and walk with that. And I completely 100% agree with you. Most of the time, however, in the traditional model, like insurance doesn't necessarily care about if you can do really high level tasks. So what insurance companies look at is, can you walk? Can you clean yourself? Can you bathe? They don't really care that much about pain, to be honest. They don't really see pain as a big deal. They really care about function. So maybe that same example of someone who sprained their ankle and wants to get back to those higher level tasks. Well, in traditional physical therapy, you might do some banded exercises. You might talk about returning to walk, but more of those higher level tasks, returning to run, returning to loaded carrying, meaning carrying heavy equipment and walking at the same time. You might start to initiate that, but most of the time people are getting discharged right around that point. And they have this 20% gap of, well, I can walk. I don't have a lot of pain with walking, but if I try to run or if I try to walk with carrying heavy things, I'm having this ankle issue. Well, again, insurance doesn't care about those traditionally higher level tasks. They really just care about your daily needs and your basic needs. Performance physical therapy fills that gap of not just that 20% to give you back to 100%, but the 40% that gets you from 80% of where you were to 120% of where you were when you started. So why is it important not just to return to where you were when you got injured, and really important to go beyond that? Well, that 100% person got injured, right? Of course, we can't prevent all injuries. We can't say that someone's not going to step in a hole and sprain their ankle. I mean, that's a fluke injury. You can't prevent that. But more so these repetitive overuse injuries. For example, the elbow tendonitis that we get with golfing or tennis. These are injuries that can be prevented with proper conditioning and proper programming, or at least we can try to prevent them as much as we can. We can't prevent every single injury, but we can really strengthen your chances of not having that injury come back. This is why performance physical therapy is really the answer for more active individuals with more higher level goals. I don't want to, with every session, waste time on the same exercises. Typically, when I see my clients, I see them once a week or less, and I see them for a longer period of time, sometimes upwards of a year, because we do have to allow for tissue healing time. We also have to allow for just like you to be able to integrate this stuff into your life. And I think this is really that gap where performance physical therapists go above and beyond to deliver this to their clients. So again, that 80% of where people traditionally trail off with traditional physical therapy, it's not necessarily a bad place to be. However, I will encourage you, if you get discharged from physical therapy, if your insurance runs out, look for a performance physical therapist. They're going to help you with those higher level tasks. They're going to get you back to weightlifting, heavier activities in the house, jumping, running, things that are really, really important. And in my opinion, should be part of our daily tasks. These should be things that we're looking at as at baseline as things that are necessary of being human. If you look back in the 1950s, when everybody was working manual labor jobs, these things used to be necessary. You used to need to jump and to lift heavy items above your head. But now that we're all in front of computers hunched forward, we are not necessarily looking at these tasks as if they're necessary. There's often this shift of, well, why do I need to be able to lift stuff above my head? Well, have you ever been to Trader Joe's and try to put some of those groceries away in your freezer or in your cabinet? That's a daily task, but we don't necessarily think about how these higher level functions and higher level tasks really do work into our everyday tasks. A lot of times people are like, well, I don't really need to work that because I'm not really lifting heavily overhead. I'm not a barbell athlete. I'm not lifting really heavy in the gym. And that's completely fine. But again, I'm going to ask you, do you have a child? Do you have a grandchild? Are they older than a day old? Because then you're at least going to be lifting that baby or that toddler above your head to play with them. And they're likely going to be 20 or 30 pounds. So again, these higher level tasks with performance physical therapy, they're very, very important for us to get back to so that we can really achieve and succeed at all the different things in our life and go above and beyond and become stronger than where we were when we got our initial injury. Thank you all so much for listening today. Definitely leave us some comments if you have any questions about this model of physical therapy. And if you're looking for a performance physical therapist in Maryland, give us a shout out. Have a great day.